back to Touring History, the podcast where we prove that any random date contains enough drama to power a Netflix limited series. I'm Lane.
And I'm going to run my mouth. I'm Dave, and this is our second episode of Touring History X, Y, and Z, our shorter format designed to entertain and educate across the three largest generations.
After the response to yesterday's episode, we're doubling down on this approach. 3 events, 3 generations, maximum relevance with minimum filler.
That's right. So look out, world. We're doubling down. And tomorrow we're going to triple down if it makes a difference. Think of it as historical precision targeting, but with more jokes and institutional failure. And before we dive into a day that gave us everything from educational equality to political upheaval to the rise of ad blocking technology, we need to talk about Ike's Love and Sandwiches.
I love it, Dave. Go. Talk about them.
Well, I'm hungry, so it'll be quick because I want to go get one. Lane, when you're about to discuss Title IX, Brexit, and the eternal war between advertisers and internet users all in one focused episode, you need sustenance, dude, that understands complexity. Ike's Love and Sandwiches doesn't just make sandwiches, they craft edible narratives. How do you like that?
Oh, so true. Since 2007, they've been turning simple ingredients into something extraordinary. Over 600 sandwich combinations, each one named after someone who matters, from the Tony Soprano to the Menage a Trois.
That's right. Check them out at ikesandwich.com because when history gets this intentional, you deserve food that's equally creative.
And today's history is definitely intentional. June 23rd, the day America revolutionized education for women, Britain shocked itself with democracy, and the internet fought back against advertising. 3 moments that defined how we learn, vote, and browse.
That's right. But let's start with birthdays, shall we?
Yay,
because
birthdays!
June 23rd produced some serious talent. Frances McDormand turned 68 today. Oh, yeah, hey there, hoser. 3-time Oscar winner and the person who made Nomadland a lifestyle choice. Yow.
Yeah,
Nothing like going in a bucket rather than just economic displacement.
And Fargo, too, right? Wasn't
That's
she
right.
the sheriff?
Oh, yeah, she was in Fargo. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll make you some eggs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, we've got the, boy.
Zinedine.
Is that how you say it? Zinedine
Zidane.
Plus, we've got Zinedine Zidane at 53, one of the greatest soccer players ever, and proof that you can be an artistic genius and occasionally headbutt people in the World Cup finals.
That's right, Z squared. Selma Blair's 53, bringing depth and vulnerability to every role and showing incredible courage in sharing her MS journey publicly.
That's true. And then we have Jason Mraz at 48, who convinced an entire generation that singing about loving someone was revolutionary rather than just normal human behavior.
Yes, Mraz. And Randy Jackson, 69, American Idol judge, and the man who made dog a term of professional critique.
From Oscar winners to soccer legends to reality TV icons, June 23rd really covers the entertainment spectrum.
That's right, and since I am on the spectrum, June 23rd, 1972, President Nixon signs Title IX into law banning sex-based discrimination in education. And this is absolutely peak Gen X relevance. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. Dave's connecting educational policy to generational identity again.
Well, trying anyway. No, seriously, Gen X were the first kids to grow up assuming sports, girls' sports that is, were just normal. Before Title IX, only 294,000 girls played in high school sports. By the time Gen X hit high school in the 80s and 90s, it was over 2 million. Quite an improvement.
And it wasn't just sports, it was everything. Academic programs, science labs, advanced math classes. Gen X girls were the first generation to have legal protection against being told that's not for girls.
That's right. Supreme Court Justice? Sure. Pilot? You bet. Astronaut? Reach for the stars, baby. Don't call me baby. Right. So when Gen X entered the workforce in the 90s and 2000s, they had this weird expectation that workplace gender equality should be, well, obvious, because they'd grown up in schools where it was legally required. About time.
Except when they hit corporate America and discovered that Title IX only applied to education, the working world was still operating under 1950s assumptions about women's capabilities.
That's right. Let me out! Let me out! There's a ceiling that's glass! Let me out! That's why Gen X women are so frustrated with workplace inequality. They're the first generation that was legally guaranteed equal treatment in school, sports, then told to accept unequal treatment at work. Sorry, it doesn't go that far. Get out of my
And
seat.
and Gen X men grew up competing with equally prepared women in every academic setting, so the idea that women are somehow less capable is just obviously ridiculous to them.
Obviously, Title IX created the conditions where gender equality became normal for Gen X, which made them uniquely impatient with institutions that hadn't caught up.
Although, let's be honest, Title IX took decades to fully implement. Early Gen X still dealt with coaches who thought girls' teams deserved leftover equipment and practice times.
Yes, ridiculous but true. But they were the first generation where, because you're a girl, became a legally unacceptable answer. That changes everything about how you see the world.
That's
Girl.
true.
Hmm.
Speaking about how you see the world, we'll go on to June 23rd, 2016, when the United Kingdom votes to leave the European Union in the Brexit referendum, which is the most millennial political experience imaginable.
Yes, how to cut your throat with fish and chips. Wait, how is Brexit specifically millennial?
Because this was the perfect storm of everything that defines millennial political frustration. A referendum based on nostalgia for a time that never actually existed, decided by older voters who wouldn't live with the consequences, affecting young people who overwhelmingly opposed it.
Oh, it's the oldsters again. Huh.
Yeah. Yep.
And the campaign was pure social media misinformation warfare. Take back control, 350 million pounds a week to the EU, blah, blah, blah. All phony. Slogans designed to go viral rather than to inform.
Exactly. Millennials were the first generation to watch democracy get hacked by Facebook algorithms and targeted advertising. Brexit was like a masterclass in how digital manipulation could override actual facts.
That's right. They're going to steal your jobs. Yes. Vote no. Plus, it was decided by a 3.8% margin. Basically, half the country was about to have their citizenship status changed against their will. That's right. That's not democracy. That's chaos with voting.
And the morning after the vote, Google searches for what is the EU spiked in the UK. People voted first and researched later. Peak social media decision making.
That's right. And then ran to get on the next ferry over to Europe. What gets me is how it became this global template for populist campaigns. Make impossible promises, blame outsiders, ignore experts, win by tiny margins, then act like you have a mandate for revolution.
Boy,
Sound familiar?
is that a formula that seems to be being redeployed?
Yes, and it definitely worked.
Millennials watched Brexit happen and thought, "Oh, this is how democracy dies in the digital age. Not with jackboots, unless you're in Los Angeles right now,
That's not
uh, but with targeted ads and referendum campaigns based on feelings rather than facts."
Yeah, well, although to be fair, leaving the EU was a legitimate political choice. The problem was how the choice was presented and decided. I mean, that
Yeah.
pull your
Yep.
sheepskin over your eyes.
You're right. The complex constitutional questions probably shouldn't be settled by simple majority votes after campaigns designed by Cambridge Analytica. And to your point, Dave, it's not necessarily what was decided, but how you got there is just as important, maybe even more.
Yeah, Cambridge Analytica. Their logo was a brain. So,
Did they
anyway,
wash it? I think they
yeah,
did.
yeah, it was in a bucket. June 23rd, 2014, uBlock Origin launches, marking a major milestone in ad blocking technology. And this is pure Gen Z energy right there.
Okay, I'll bite. How is an ad blocker Gen Z relevant?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Flame, because Gen Z is the first generation to grow up assuming the internet should work for them, not against them. Smart group. They don't see ads as the price of free content. They see ads as digital pollution that needs to be filtered out.
And they're not wrong unless it's Ike sandwiches. By 2014, online advertising had become genuinely predatory. Autoplay videos, pop ups that hijacked your browser, tracking cookies that followed you all across the internet.
And anything that's predatory has to go. uBlock Origin wasn't just blocking ads, it was blocking surveillance capitalism. It stopped websites from tracking your behavior, creepy, selling your data, creepy, and turning your attention into a commodity, super creepy.
Gen Z grew up watching their parents get scammed by pop up ads and email phishing. So when they got old enough to control their own browsers, they immediately installed software to block it all.
Thank God. What's brilliant is how this became generational warfare. Millennials and Gen X often felt guilty about using ad blockers. Can you imagine? But how will content creators get paid? That's never been coming out of my mouth. Gen Z was like, not my problem. Fix your business model, dude.
And they were right. Ad blocking forced the internet to develop better monetization strategies, subscriptions, Patreon. By the way, please support us on our Patreon page,
That's
shall
right.
you?
Please, please, please.
And direct support to the content supporters. Why do you have to go through an advertiser? Why not just support the creators? It made online content better by making surveillance advertising less profitable.
Yes, and they are still clever about hooking you. Those subscriptions you have to cancel. Although I think that changed recently. Anyway, although you have to admire the irony, the generation that grew up with social media advertising everywhere also became the generation most committed to blocking all advertising.
And it could be irony. It's also evolution. Gen Z learned to navigate digital spaces by understanding what was trying to manipulate them and building defenses against it.
Yeah, ads aren't in themselves bad. It's the surreptitious subterfuge that you have to deal with that's bad. And they got
That's
rid
a
of it.
good band name, Dave.
But,
Surreptitious
dude,
subterfuge.
we're going to that tonight. uBlock Origin was like Gen Z's first collective digital rights movement. Yeah, we have the right to browse the internet without being tracked, manipulated, and harvested for data. Harvested, yikes.
Speaking of things that have earned your attention, honestly, let's talk about Ike's Love and Sandwiches.
Yeah,
You can't use ad blockers. I suppose
no,
you could try to fast forward, but don't do that. We have so much to
no,
tell you about right
because
now.
we
The
love to
most
eat.
ambitious sandwich operation on the West Coast.
That's right. And while other places rely on viral marketing and manufactured scarcity, Ike's builds loyalty through genuine creativity. That means over 600 different combinations, my friends, each one named after someone who matters. Like the Lane and Dave.
Full of tongue and bologna.
That's right. No lip.
Now, actual sandwiches like the Menage a Trois, which is chicken, halal chicken, and turkey with Swiss and cheddar. The Elvis Keith, which is halal chicken with ranch and hot sauce. These aren't just sandwiches, they're edible stories.
That's right. Ours should have halal tongue. Founded in 2007 with a simple philosophy, great ingredients, creative combinations, and enough personality to make ordering lunch feel like joining a community.
Yeah.
Hopefully not of, Hutterites or whatever.
Yeah, check them out at ikesandwich.com, where the customer experience is designed around creativity, not data collection.
That's right.
So there you have it, our second Touring History XYZ episode. June 23rd gave us three perfect examples of generational change: legal equality, democratic chaos, and digital resistance.
Fight back! What strikes me is how these three events showed different approaches to systemic problems. Title IX used the law to force institutional change. Brexit used democracy, although somewhat, never mind, to create institutional chaos. And uBlock Origin used technology to bypass institutions entirely.
And all three worked sort of. Title IX dramatically expanded opportunities for women. Brexit left the EU like they wanted, and ad blockers made the internet more bearable.
Yes, and although the side effects, don't use this in the tub very dramatically, Title IX created lasting positive change. Brexit created years of political instability, chaos, you might say, and ad blockers started an arms race between users and advertisers.
Speaking of lasting positive choices, Ike's Love and Sandwiches has been proving that creativity and quality never go out of style. Check them out at ikesandwich.com.
Yes, and thanks for joining us. The response to this X, Y, and Z format has been incredible, so we're definitely continuing it.
Until then, I'm Lane.
And I'm Dave. We're definitely continuing it, reminding you that history is just people making decisions about equality, democracy, and whether they want to see ads for things they Googled once 3 weeks ago. Oh, and don't forget, sandwiches by the dozens.
That's right. Have a great one, everybody.
Thanks.